What's up guys, I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Richtofen and Samantha seem to suffer from something called ethereal dreams, where, as we know, even though they came from a multiverse that got banished into the Dark Ether, and as soon as they entered this new one in Black Ops Cold War and BO6, their memories were lost. So anything from that old timeline, Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, Nikolai, Takia and Dempsey, Samantha's father, Maxis, as soon as they entered this Cold War and Black Ops 6 universe, those memories were gone. The only thing they could remember was their name. But there's one exception to this. The two of them suffer with nightmares, and when they dream, they seem to remember stuff from the old timeline. Certain things, specific events or places appear to them in their dreams, but of course, because they lost their memories, they have no idea of what they're seeing. They don't know these things they are seeing in their dreams or nightmares are actually things they've experienced. In Citadel Day More, on Richtofen's Orphanage intake form, just in case you don't know, when he passed through from the old multiverse to this new one with Samantha, the both of them were split up, and Samantha was sent to an orphanage in West Germany. Meanwhile, Richtofen was sent to the New Horizon orphanage in Berlin. This happened in 1954, and when he was taken in, they did an assessment of him, and this is what they wrote. Name of child, Edward Richtofen. Date and country of birth, unknown, appears to be 8 years of age. Germany. They then did an assessment of his mental and emotional condition, in which they determined he was very intelligent and curious, but doesn't sleep much. He has nightmares, a strong appetite, bites his nails. Note of significance, Richtofen talks to himself. He says, "What?" It seems like he recognises this place. Does he recognise the orphanage house? Is Richtofen recognising the neighbourhood? He also repeats the phrase, "safe in the house," but more like a mantra, which means more like a meditation, or like he's trying to concentrate, than a feeling of security. But what is he referring to? Is he talking about the orphanage house? Is he talking about our facility? Because Richtofen has just arrived here, they are wondering, how could he know about this house? So it seems like when Richtofen was taken into the Near Horizon orphanage, he said to himself, "What?" Almost as if he recognised this place, almost as if he'd been here before, and he kept repeating the words, "safe in the house." But of course, Richtofen had never been to this orphanage before. Now, if you know the zombie storyline, the first thing that comes to your mind is Dr. Monty's house in the old timeline and the Origins cutscene. That would make you think, okay, Richtofen somehow, way in the back of his mind, must remember his time in Dr. Monty's house with Samantha. That was a place of safety for him, and when he was taken into this orphanage, this was also a new place of safety for him, which perhaps triggered some kind of memory or feeling of, not security as they say here, but he said it more like a mantra. Then you remember about Dimension 2210. Every version of Richtofen, whether it be this one, or Primus, or Ultimus, as a child was orphaned. Going back to the old timeline, Edward Richtofen's parents died in 1898, in which he was then sent into an orphanage. We never actually learn which orphanage Richtofen went to. It was obviously one in Germany, but it really could have been any. But that also would have been the case for this version of Eddie. Before his soul was taken by Primus Richtofen, when he would have been about 8 years old, Eddie would have been in an orphanage. So Primus Richtofen travelled to Dimension 2210, into the orphanage that Eddie was in, and killed him.
We may be victorious, but wouldn't you like to hear a little story? A story you've never heard? A sad story?
Oh, man. Why do you always have to be such a Debbie Downer?
Let him speak.
It's the story of Dimension 2210. The story of my soul. By the way, you're nodding, Nikolai. I can only assume the chronorium already showed you the whole sorry tale. Well, for the benefit of the peanut gallery, I was just a boy then. An innocent. I was a sensitive child. A lonely child. Orphaned at a young age. I never got to know who I really was. But one day, I learned who I would grow up to be.
What do you speak of, Richtofen?
I had to do it. The chronorium told me. I had to trick the poor little innocent me into trusting a complete stranger.
Jeez, Richtofen. I don't think I like where this is going.
Me neither, Dempsey. But that's the sad truth of it all. I took my own soul. Before it could ever have the chance to flourish. Is it any wonder I'm the way I am?
Collecting his soul inside of the summoning key and then given it to Dr. Monty so he could turn him into an innocent version of himself in the house. And that is this same version of Richtofen that we see in Cold War and Black Ops 6 Zombies. So our current Richtofen in the old multiverse was in an orphanage before he was killed by Primus Richtofen. He was then taken to Dr. Monty's house. The cycle was then broken. The multiverse was banished into the Dark Ether, and Eddie and Samantha entered this new one. And now that same Eddie has been admitted into an orphanage again. And as soon as he arrived here, he said, wait, what? Almost as if he'd been in this exact orphanage before. So is it possible that the Near Horizon Orphanage is the exact same orphanage that Eddie was in before he was killed by Primus Richtofen in the old multiverse? And even though his memories were wiped as soon as he crossed over, him seeing it again has confused him. He seems to recognise this place but doesn't fully understand that this was the exact same orphanage that he was in when Primus Richtofen took his life, when his soul was collected inside of the summoning key, which is a crazy coincidence, right? And if he's repeating the phrase safe in the house, then is he not referring to Dr. Monty's, but is he actually referring to this orphanage house? Because he was safe here when he grew up as a child in the old multiverse before he was killed by Primus Richtofen, because we know the reason Richtofen collected this version of Eddie's soul was because he was innocent. He hadn't been corrupted by the Dark Ether yet. He was safe here. Nothing bad had happened to him until that point. And what's also a massive coincidence, as Dr. Monty told us, and as we also learned in the Canorium, at the orphanage in the old timeline, Richtofen told everyone that his dad was a famous scientist.
At the orphanage, Edward told everyone his dad was a famous scientist. They scrawled, "Teddy is a liar," on the schoolyard wall.
Now, whether or not that was a lie, we don't know, because we never actually learned who Richtofen's father was, because they died when he was young. Maybe he was telling the truth and his biological father was a famous scientist, but the other orphans thought he was lying and so wrote "Teddy is a liar" on the schoolyard walls. If, and this is a big if, Richtofen was in this Near Horizon Orphanage when "Teddy is a liar" was wrote on the schoolyard walls, even though this is a totally different universe, could it be possible, through one way or another, he found the words "Teddy is a liar" still scrawled on the schoolyard walls? Like I said, that's a crazy theory, because Richtofen hadn't actually been here before in the new Black Ops 6 timeline, so how that would work, I don't know. I'm just going to put that one to the side. But with this then, I think it's very likely Richtofen, as soon as he entered this new universe in Cold War Zombies, was taken into the exact same orphanage that he was in the old timeline. And there was something in the back of his memories that triggered him to say, wait, what? Almost as if he recognised this place, but couldn't quite put his finger on it. But as I also spoke about, both Richtofen and Samantha suffer from nightmares. In Cold War, there was a few pieces of intel from Samantha where she wrote, whether it be rooted in violence, abuse, regret, or grief, all of us deal with trauma in our own way. Some wear it, bear it like a scar, clear for all to see. Others bury it deeply, that no one even knows that it's there. When we sleep, the world sleeps with us. When we sleep, we know nothing of the machinations of the real world. When we sleep, we know nothing of the ethereal dream that envelops us. Dreams can help us. Dreams can teach us. Dreams can show us how we deal with our trauma. Dreams are our unfiltered thoughts of past, present, and future, be they sweet or nightmare. I like to dream. So Samantha said that she had dreams which she believed showed her unfiltered thoughts of her past, present, and future. So in reality, when she was awake, she could remember nothing. Anything that had happened to her as a child, she didn't have those memories. But when she dreamed, unfiltered thoughts of her past, present, and future came to her. They came to her as nightmares most of the time. And it was the same for Richtofen. When they're awake, they remember nothing. When they sleep, unfiltered thoughts of their past comes back to them. But when they wake up, they remember nothing again. And that's what Richtofen has been going through. When he was adopted by Kraft from the orphanage, and he took him back to his house in Berlin, Kraft quickly realised that Edward was suffering with nightmares. That bad that he would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat.
The boy suffers from memory loss. His childhood, his parents all gone. His name, Edward, is the only thing he has left. He doesn't understand the world, but he wants to. The boy is having nightmares again. The terrible things. He wakes drenched in sweat, screaming that it's his turn. He does not remember in the morning. I am beginning to wonder if he is actually taking the pills or if he is just lying to me. Either way, the boy needs a fresh start. Something to help him forget the things that haunt him.
And that's another weird coincidence, right? In the old timeline, Richtofen told the other orphans his dad was a famous scientist, and then in this new timeline, when he was in the orphanage, Richtofen's adoptive father, Kraft, is a famous scientist, or occultist, a mixture of everything really. Just take a look at this though. In one of Samantha's diary entries she wrote, "Sometimes I find it hard to sleep. Even though I look forward to it, when I dream, I see faces. Faces of people I care about, and faces of people that don't care for me. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two, but one face stands out from all the others. The face of a child, a boy he is lost, damaged. I want to help him, but somehow I feel that he is dangerous. Dreams are unreliable witnesses, as I am too. Sometimes I find it hard to sleep." So, as Samantha was dreaming, she saw the face of a boy. Now, originally we thought this boy that she was dreaming about was the boy and mother that she killed, Richtofen's family, but because we now know these dreams they are having trigger memories from the past, from the old timeline, was she seeing the face of her childhood best friend, Richtofen? And in her dreams, she saw him lost and damaged. Remember, we don't know the full timeline because we're not told it, but sometime after they arrived in this new universe together, the two of them got split up and sent to different orphanages. And it doesn't seem like either one of them remember each other, because in another letter Samantha wrote about herself, "Samantha, the little lost girl. I remember so little from before the orphanage. Sometimes I think that's a good thing. Did we have a mother? Did we have a father? Did we have friends? I'm sorry if something bad happened to you, to us. Just want you to know that one day you'll be okay. You will grow up, you will live the life you choose. I promise, I was you." So Samantha says she remembers pretty much nothing from before the orphanage and questions if she had friends. Surely if she remembered Richtofen as her childhood friend, she would not be questioning whether she had friends. She would know that. So that tells me she doesn't remember anything about Richtofen as a child, and vice versa. Samantha was having nightmares about this boy seeing this face of a child who was lost and damaged, and she wanted to help him, but what she didn't know is that she was seeing her childhood best friend Richtofen. At exactly what point she was seeing him, was it after they entered this new universe, or was it from before in the old multiverse? I would guess this new one because she's describing him as being lost and damaged, which would suit a description of him after he arrived here. We know when Kraft adopted the young Richtofen, he described him as being pale and sickly. He didn't look healthy. But yeah, how crazy would it be if we had a zombies map, because we know we potentially have a DLC 5 to come in Black Ops 6. We have no idea what any of the maps are going to be after the next one, Janus Towers. But imagine if we went back to the Near Horizon Orphanage, and imagine if Richtofen had been to this orphanage before. He was in the Near Horizon Orphanage in the old multiverse before he was killed by Primus Richtofen, and his soul was taken, and he was taken into this exact same orphanage when he arrived in this new universe. But he can't quite put his finger on why it seems so familiar to him, why it feels like a place of safety. So there we go. I'll leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.